Welcome to Vengeful World, a channel where darkness meets justice, where every betrayal finds its reckoning, and every wound becomes the weapon of revenge. In this world, vengeance isn't just rage, it's redemption through fire. If you believe that silence can be deadlier than bullets, you're in the right place. Now, let's begin today's story. In the skeletal remains of a city scarred by a forgotten war under a sky heavy, with ash and grief, Julia crouched in an alley, her knees pulled tight to her chest. The distant crack of gunfire was a cruel lullaby, each shot a reminder of her isolation. Her phone was a lifeless brick in her pocket, its battery long drained. Her voice was raw, frayed from hours of sobbing into the void. Her family. Her own blood had left her here, thousands of miles from home, as a twisted form of punishment. They called it tough love. They thought it would break her. They didn't know it would awaken her mother. Evelyn, half a world away in a quiet coastal town, received the call that shattered her carefully built peace. Her daughter, her only light, was stranded in a war zone. The betrayal came from within. Her brother Martin, his venomous wife Linda, and their two cousins Jake and Miranda. They had taken Julia on a so-called charity trip abroad only to abandon her under fabricated accusations of rebellion and instability. They lied to the embassy, claiming she had run away. They lied to Evelyn, painting Julia as unhinged. They thought they could control the narrative. They forgot who Evelyn was. Evelyn had spent a decade crafting a life of quiet simplicity, raising Julia in a small house by the sea, far from the shadows of her former world. But that world was never truly gone. For 20 years, Evelyn had been a ghost and intelligence operative for a private global agency, moving through the underbelly of power with surgical precision. She had walked away from that life for Julia, burying her past beneath layers of domestic routine. But the news of her daughter's abandonment cracked that fragile shell, and the operative within her stirred. The details came in fragments, each one a shard of glass in her heart. Martin, her own brother, had orchestrated the plan. Linda, his calculating wife, had spun the lies. Jake and Miranda, eager to prove their loyalty to the family's warped moral code, had gone along mocking Julia even as they left her behind. They thought they were teaching her a lesson. They thought Evelyn would break under the weight of their betrayal. They were wrong. Evelyn's first move was to find Julia. She reached out to an old contact in Istanbul, a grizzled journalist named Ressa, who owed her a favor from a mission long ago. He risked his life navigating the war-torn city, following Evelyn's precise instructions to locate Julia. When he found her malnourished, terrified but alive, he smuggled her out through back channels, delivering her to a safe house. Evelyn flew to meet her, her mind already shifting from rescue to retribution. As she held her trembling daughter, Evelyn's face was a mask of calm. But inside, a storm was brewing, not of fire but of ice. Cold, relentless, and unforgiving. Evelyn didn't rush. Revenge, she knew, was a dish served with precision, not haste. She spent weeks gathering intelligence, tapping into skills she hadn't used in years. She hacked into encrypted emails, traced financial records, and monitored social media with the efficiency of a predator stalking prey. Every lie, every cruel word, every smirk was catalogued. She built a dossier on each of her targets: Martin, Linda, Jake, and Miranda. They had thought themselves untouchable, insulated by distance and deceit. They were about to learn otherwise. Julia's recovery was slow. Evelyn tended to her with a tenderness that contrasted sharply with the ruthlessness forming in her mind. She bathed her, fed her, and listened as Julia recounted the betrayal in halting, tear-choked words. "Why did they do this?" Julia asked one night, her voice breaking. Evelyn's response was simple, her voice steady as stone. They thought they'd get away with it. She began with Linda, the sister-in-law whose smug superiority had always grated. Linda worked in HR for a mid-sized corporation, a position she used to skim small sums from expense accounts. Petty frauds she thought no one would notice. Evelyn noticed. She hacked into Linda's corporate systems, planting evidence of her misconduct in places her CEO couldn't ignore. Anonymous tips followed, each one backed by reputable proof. Within weeks, Linda was summoned to a boardroom, her face pale as she was fired in disgrace. But Evelyn wasn't done. She intercepted Linda's personal emails, uncovering an affair with a junior employee. She sent the evidence to the boys' conservative family, ensuring they received screenshots of Linda's flirtations. The fallout was swift. Linda's marriage to Martin began to fracture. Her social circle shrank and her reputation crumbled. Evelyn sent no messages, no warnings, just silence. The kind that creeps into your bones and whispers that someone is watching. Next was Jake, the cousin who had laughed as he left Julia behind. His cruelty preserved in private group chats Evelyn had accessed. Jake was a social media influencer. His life a carefully curated facade of charm and charisma. Evelyn dismantled it with surgical precision. She leaked his private DMs, some real, some artfully fabricated, to suggest inappropriate conversations with underage fans. The truth was damning enough, but Evelyn's additions ensured the scandal was catastrophic. Sponsors dropped him overnight. His followers turned on him, their adoration replaced by hashtags calling for his cancellation. Jake's carefully built empire collapsed, leaving him scrambling to salvage a reputation that no longer existed. Evelyn watched from afar, her fingers poised over her keyboard, her heart a glacier. Jake's panic was palpable, but she felt no satisfaction, only the cold certainty that he deserved it. Miranda, the other cousin, was next. She worked at a prestigious law firm, her ambition matched only by her arrogance. Evelyn struck with calculated cruelty. She created fake job offers from rival firms, each one promising a higher salary and better title. Miranda, greedy and overconfident, took the bait, resigning from her current position only to find the offers evaporate. Blacklisted by her industry, thanks to Evelyn's anonymous tips about her unprofessional conduct. Miranda was left unemployed, her savings dwindling. Evelyn didn't stop there. She hacked into Miranda's apartment lease records, triggering a cancellation under a technicality. She sent carefully edited videos to Miranda's boyfriend, showing her mocking his deceased. Mother, a clip spliced from unrelated conversations to create a devastating lie. The relationship imploded, leaving Miranda isolated and paranoid, jumping at shadows she couldn't name. Martin, Evelyn's brother, was the linchpin. She saved him for last, letting him watch as his world crumbled. He grew suspicious, his calls to Evelyn growing desperate, but she never answered. Instead, she sent him a single package, an old family photo. Julia smiling at 6 years old, her eyes bright with innocence. On the back, Evelyn wrote in sharp, deliberate script, "Blood doesn't protect, it stains." Martin's downfall was methodical. Evelyn accessed his offshore accounts, redirecting funds to anti-war charities in a cruel twist of irony. She leaked falsified documents tying his consulting firm to illegal dealings, triggering an investigation that revoked his government security clearance. His clients abandoned him, his reputation in tatters. Martin was a man unraveling, his life reduced to a series of losses he couldn't explain. A year passed. Julia was healing, her strength returning under Evelyn's quiet care. The world outside their cottage remained oblivious to the storm Evelyn had unleashed. Then one night she made the call. Martin's phone lit up with her name. His hands shook as he answered. "You finally destroyed us," he whispered, his voice hollow. "No," Evelyn said, her tone calm, almost serene. "I've only taught you the same lesson you taught my daughter." "What do you want?" he pleaded. "You abandoned a child in a war zone," she replied. "Now you'll know what it means." 2 days later, Martin and Linda boarded a plane for a business trip arranged through fake agents Evelyn had orchestrated. They landed in a restricted border region in Eastern Europe, a place teetering on the edge of chaos. Their passports vanished, their phones stopped working, and the contacts they'd been promised never appeared. Stranded, surrounded by a government in disarray, they were cut off, just as Julia had been. No one came for them. Evelyn and Julia sat by the fireplace in their cottage, the warmth a stark contrast to the cold justice Evelyn had delivered. A stack of old photo albums lay beside them, memories of a family that no longer existed. Evelyn fed the pages to the flames, wedding photos, birthday parties, holidays filled with smiles that now felt like lies. Julia watched in silence, her eyes reflecting the firelight. "Do you feel better?" she asked, her voice soft but steady. Evelyn stared at the embers, the weight of her actions settling into her bones. "No," she said, "but we're free." Outside, snow fell, blanketing the world in white. A new winter, a new beginning. In the ashes of their past, mother and daughter found each other again. Their bond forged anew in the crucible of betrayal and retribution.